Who said that the generative AI is bad at math? That's no longer a problem with the interpreter tool or your OpenAI assistant framework. Hey, what's happening, my friend? This is Imtiaz, and yet again, I want to thank you for checking out this video. Because chances are you found this video because you're interested to use the code interpreter tool for your OpenAI assistant. You want to know exactly how you can use this powerful tool to write code, do complex data analysis, and streamline your workflows. This will make your agent or assistant even more powerful. But before you implement this in your OpenAI assistant framework, watch this video until the end. I'm not only going to share what exactly is the benefit of using this tool, but I'm also going to reveal the step-by-step code to create your assistant and apply this tool. And as you continue to watch this video, you'll understand how important this framework is for you. Whether you want to do this alone or would like to do this along with a group of like-minded people to support you along your journey. You click the link in the description to join the Python for AI Agents community, where you're going to get a lot of resources waiting for you to unlock the full potential of your OpenAI assistant or your agent framework. Also, make sure to share with your friends who are interested to learn about AI agent development and would like to get ahead of the curve. Without further ado, let's dive in. So as you know, OpenAI introduced the assistant framework, which allows you to use their LLM models as well as prompts and your own knowledge base to create an agent or an assistant. Now, this agent or assistant will have certain tools available for them. So when a user comes in and asks a question, this assistant can reference all these tools to provide the perfect answer for the user. Now, the tools that they have available for use is going to be the code interpreter, which we're going to talk about today. Then they have the file search, as well as something called function calling. OpenAI also calls these custom tools. And all these tools, whether used separately or together, will augment your assistant and make it even more powerful. Before we dive into the actual power of code interpreter tools, let's talk a little bit about the assistant framework. I dived deeper into the assistant framework in my previous videos, but I'll just quickly share how this really works. So we're going to create an assistant later on with code, and I'm going to show you how you can do that as well. And as you're creating the assistant, you'll understand that there's also something called a thread. Thread is a collection of messages. So when a user sends a message to the assistant, it's going to be stored there and appended into the thread. And thread will now be also used as context for the assistant. So if you ever wondered how the assistant can pull information from previous conversations, this is exactly how they're going to do this. Okay, so also when we're sending a message to the assistant and it's initiated a thread, it's now going to create a run function. Now, in that run function, in that process, the assistant is going to determine what tools it's going to call, whether it's going to call the file search tool, the code interpreter tool, or the function calling tool. The agent can also run these tools in parallel to provide the specific response. OpenAI has been getting a lot better in terms of the function calling tool as well. You can create some mini assistants that can do some tasks for you as well. So code interpreter tool will be very powerful in that regards if you want to do certain tasks. As you can see from the documentation, code interpreter allows your assistant to run code iteratively to solve challenging code and math problems. Okay, you could give it a task, let's say do some data analysis, write a script, etc. It's going to go off and then start running this code or script in its own environment and start producing results. It can give you images, it can produce an entire Excel or CSV file. It can also take CSV files as input. Now I'm going to dive into the code in a little bit, but I want to show you conceptually what you have available with the code interpreter feature. Okay, first you need to enable the code interpreter. You need to assign the code interpreter tool into your assistant when you're configuring it during the assistant creation process. You also need to pass your CSV or your Excel documents, etc. into something called files. Okay, this will be also passed into the assistant through the tool resources. Now the assistant has context, what file you're referring to when you want to generate any kind of analysis or produce some kind of image, etc. Additionally, you can pass the file into the thread itself. So you don't have to pass into the assistant, but by doing so in the thread will allow you to conserve storage costs. So as you know, OpenAI stores files when used in a thread for about 7 days and then it gets expired. So you can take advantage of that if you want to use this on a temporary basis. I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can pass an Excel file into the assistant for it to process and do some data analysis. These are all the data types that are available for you so that you can send it off to the assistant. And the assistant can also, with the code interpreter tool, produce certain files. After it does the analysis, it can produce images or it can produce an entire file by itself, a CSV file. You can also log the steps that the assistant is taking to solve a problem. For example, you ask the assistant to calculate the total revenue in a given month. The assistant is now going to think out loud, basically, how it's calculating that amount. It's going to take out the calculator, do the calculation, and then read it out to you, how it's solving the problem, and then what's the final answer. Okay, you can get all these steps through the threads run steps list. Okay, let's talk about some practical applications with the code interpreter tool used with the assistant. This document is going to be available in the resource hub. So when you click the first link in the description, you'll be taken to the school community where I'm going to post all these resources. But as you can see, just by introducing the code interpreter tool to your agent or assistant, you now unlock a whole new avenue of tasks that you can have the assistants perform. Now you can think of these agents working like an employee. For example, you have a data analysis agent that can import data sets, perform statistical analysis, generate visualizations, and identify trends. You provide a document, a list of instructions, and then you send off that task to be carried out by that assistant. You can have a financial portfolio manager, you can have an SEO analysis agent, you can have a sales data analyst, marketing campaign optimizer who analyzes campaign performance, suggesting budget reallocation, predicting campaign outcomes. So as you can see, with the traditional methods, typically you need separate tools for coding, data analysis, and automation. This fragmentation can slow down and make your workflow less efficient. With the code interpreter, you get all-in-one solution that streamlines your process, makes your assistant more powerful, and then unlocks a whole new avenue of tasks that you can have the assistant perform. And this could replace traditional tasks in your business as well. So you can think about certain gaps that you have in your business, augment this with an assistant. And if you're an entrepreneur, you could think about how you can start filling in these gaps just by using a code interpreter tool and the assistant framework. It also supports various programming languages. So if you want a Python script developed by, let's say, a software developer agent, you can provide the task, and then it's going to write the script, iteratively solving the problem until it gets to the final result. Let's dive into a coding session where I'm going to show you how you can create an assistant and assign a code interpreter tool to the assistant. It's very easy. Don't worry, I'm going to explain step by step. Now, if you want this notebook for yourself and you want to play around with it, you can use it as boilerplate code for your own assistant framework projects. I made it really easy step by step for you. If you want to brush up on your Python, definitely take advantage of the Python Accelerator workshops. And if you want a crash course on building agents, definitely take advantage of the agent building workshops I have available for you. And imagine yourself starting out quick without any kind of distraction. So as you know, to install any packages, we need to use the pip install command. We have the OpenAI library or package that hosts all the OpenAI functions available for you. So we're going to do that to start installing the OpenAI library in our Google Collaboratory notebook. Once that is loaded up, we're going to create the environment, import all the necessary libraries and tools. We're also going to authenticate the client object with our OpenAI API key. So if you don't have an API key, go to the OpenAI website, get an API key, come back and put it right here in the secrets tab. Make sure you don't share with anyone. And this is going to be used in your Google Collaboratory workflow as well by assigning the OpenAI API key variable in this line right here. We're now going to create a file. Okay, this file is going to be created. Basically, we're going to upload a file that we have on our computer and send it off to the OpenAI servers to store it. We're going to get a file ID, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let's say I have a revenue data from a business. It's a daily snapshot. It could be a CSV file or an Excel file. It doesn't matter. But it has daily expenses, total revenue, average transaction, number of customers, etc. Okay? We're going to do some calculations using the code interpreter tool. So we want to double check if it's getting the numbers correct. We're going to see if it can sum up the total revenue. So we're going to select the entire column. So as you can see, the sum is 307282. Okay, that is the sum. So take a note of that. That is loaded up, ready to go. Notice that it's stored in the OpenAI servers as something called a file object. You can see all the attributes of the file objects right here. For our case, we need the ID object. So we're going to look at the ID here, file.id. Okay. The next step, we're going to create our assistant. Now, when we are creating an assistant, we need the instructions, the model that it's going to use, as well as the tools. In our case, we're just going to use the code interpreter tool, but you can also use other tools like file search and function calling, etc. that will make your assistant even more powerful. And then we're going to assign the tool resources. And under tool resources, we're going to specify that we're using the file ID for the code interpreter tool. And that's where we plug in that file ID that we got from uploading our file into the server. We have a simple instruction. You are an expert data analyst. Answer to the user's question in a clear and concise way. Let's go run this. The assistant is now ready. Okay. See how easy that was to create your assistant. You can also pull out the assistant object. Look at all the attributes the assistant has. You can also get the assistant ID. We're now going to use the assistant ID in our next steps. So following the assistant framework, if you remember how the assistant works, we create an assistant, then we have to create a thread. If it's not already created, we create the thread, and then we're going to send the messages to the thread. So this is the part where we create the thread. Now we're going to create a message. What is the total expense in the time period? We're going to say, what is the total revenue in the time period? So let's see if it's able to calculate this correctly. Total revenue in the time period. We're now going to create the run object. As you can see, once we send the message, we now create the run. The run is created, and this function basically polls the run to see if it's completed or not. When it's completed, we print out the results. The run status is progress or queued. It's going to wait 1 second and check again if it's completed. And here you go. You have all the steps that the assistant took to solve the problem. Let's begin by examining the contents of the uploaded file, blah. It appears that there's an issue. Okay. It looks like the file not be valid Excel file. Let's open it as a CSV file. The file has been successfully loaded. As you can see, the assistant is running through some problems, opening the file, doing all kinds of stuff, and it's telling you what is coming across. And then for each step, it's iteratively working to solve the problem. And the last step, the file has been successfully loaded, so now it's going somewhere. Okay, so now it's showing all the elements that it's using for the calculation, and at the end, it says the total revenue for the given time period is 307,282.26. Let's check this out. That's exactly right. Let's imagine this. You want to create some kind of chart or a plot using the data that's provided. With the code interpreter tool, the assistant can now run code. And one of the features of using code is that you can use code to generate images and then produce these images to be stored in the OpenAI servers. You can now pull out these images and see what it looks like. So I'm going to show you an example how we can also calculate and create an image. Now let's say we want to create a 2-axis line chart with total revenue and expenses on both the sides, and then for the horizontal axes you have the date. Okay, so we'll provide this in a message to the assistant. I want to create a visualization with dual axes. Let's have expenses on one side and total revenue on the other side. The x-axis will be the date. Also the colors for revenue, total revenue will be red, and the color for total expense will be blue. So we're now going to send out that message. We're going to create another run, and then we're going to check the run status, and then when it's complete, it's going to return back the output. All right, so before it's taking each of these steps to solve the problem, sure, I'll create a dual axis visualization with date, blah, 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 color blue. I'll generate this. Great, so now it has given us a file object that it has created. So let's go check it out, what it looks like. Object, we just replace this right here, and we run this. And boom, as you can see, it successfully produced the total revenue and expenses on each side, and it's a daily snapshot. Okay, now you can provide more instructions to make the chart look a lot better. You can provide more instructions to maybe increase the font size, etc. As you can see, you can save so much time and hours and effort to do simple data analysis. Now, I used to do data analysis previously, and I find this a lot more easier if you have assistants do simple data analysis work, and then you can use it as part of your own workflow. So this is really helpful. Now, this code is going to be in the school community. If you want to play around with it and create your own agents with the code interpreter, feel free to do so as well. And now, thank you again for watching this video. I hope you found value. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video. And as you know, the GPT-5 tsunami is coming. So it's really important that you take action so that you can ride the tsunami and don't get crushed by it. Start learning these tools. Make the bots do the work for you. Don't get distracted by the shiny object syndrome. Stop watching endless amounts of AI news. Start taking actions. Stop taking shortcuts because it's going to hurt you in the long run. Start thinking about how you can use some of these technologies and start building innovative solutions for yourself, your community, your children. Because one day your children might ask you, hey, did you take advantage of this AI revolution? Or were you just another leaf in the wind? I have a school community waiting for you, so if technology and knowledge is stopping you from taking action, we can help you get there, okay? So click the link in the description, and I make content on AI agents pretty much every day. If you're a business and want to sign up for a 45-minute consultation call with me and my team, we'll scope out a game plan for you and make sure you ride the tsunami effortlessly and painlessly. Until next time, GPT pioneers, let's go.